The world is deeply interconnected, with nations and economies woven together in ways that often go unnoticed in our daily lives. Events in the Middle East, especially those involving Iran, can send shockwaves far beyond the region, affecting people and markets across continents. Iran's strategic location places it at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and Africa, right next to some of the world's most vital shipping lanes. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway bordering Iran, is a lifeline for global energy supplies. Nearly a fifth of the world's oil and a significant portion of its natural gas pass through here every day. Any disruption in this choke point, whether from conflict, political tension, or even threats, can send oil prices soaring overnight, driving up the cost of fuel, transportation, and goods everywhere, from New York to New Delhi. But the stakes go beyond economics. Security and stability are on the line as well. The region is heavily militarized, and even a small incident could quickly spiral into a larger confrontation. Tensions in the Persian Gulf draw in not only Iran, but also major world powers like the United States, European nations, and their allies. Each has its own interests and alliances, making the situation even more complex and volatile, with the risk of a broader conflict always looming. A single miscalculation or misunderstanding could escalate rapidly, threatening not just regional peace but also global stability, financial markets, and international trade. That's why diplomats and world leaders are constantly working behind the scenes, holding urgent meetings and negotiations to prevent a crisis. Yet despite these efforts, the stakes remain incredibly high and the outcome uncertain. The human impact is immediate and real. Families in Iran and neighboring countries live with daily uncertainty, while people around the world feel the effects at the gas pump and grocery stores, and in their everyday expenses. Understanding Iran's role in this complex web of politics, economics, and security is crucial. The decisions made here could reshape international relations, energy markets, and even the balance of power for years to come. In this video, we'll break down how these tensions began, who the key players are, and why the Strait of Hormuz remains a flashpoint for the entire world. The story of Iran is not just a regional issue, it's a global one, touching lives and shaping futures everywhere. Let's explore together why what happens in Iran matters to all of us, no matter where we live or what we do. The next scenes will reveal the roots, risks, and realities of this ongoing crisis, and why understanding it is more important now than ever before. The current standoff with Iran is the result of years of mistrust and escalating disagreements. Concerns over Iran's nuclear ambitions and regional influence have driven US and Israeli policy. The US imposed tough sanctions to pressure Iran, aiming to limit its military funding and force policy changes. This approach, backed by allies like Israel, sought to isolate Iran and bring it to the negotiating table. Critics warned that abandoning diplomacy for confrontation could backfire, risking greater instability. Divisions emerged among allies. Some favored pressure, others urged dialogue. The maximum pressure strategy was a calculated risk, betting that Iran would eventually concede. Instead, it set the stage for a prolonged and unpredictable confrontation. As we'll see, this approach brought new challenges and complications. Not everyone agreed with the push for maximum pressure on Iran. Inside US and allied governments, advisors warned that escalation could close off diplomatic options and increase the risk of war. They highlighted Iran's capacity for retaliation through attacks on shipping, cyber warfare, and proxy groups. Economic risks were also flagged. Even limited conflict could send oil prices soaring, hurting global markets and straining alliances. Some urged a balanced approach, pressure but with open communication. Despite these warnings, leaders pressed ahead, hoping for a quick result. Instead, the conflict dragged on, validating many of the early concerns. The standoff became more complex and costly than anticipated. Israel has maintained a clear, unwavering stance, one that has remained consistent across changing governments and shifting regional dynamics. Iran must never acquire nuclear weapons under any circumstances. This position is not just a policy, but a deeply rooted national conviction, shaped by decades of regional hostility and security threats. Israeli leaders, from prime ministers to military chiefs, see a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat to the very survival of the state. They have repeatedly declared, both publicly and privately, that Israel will take whatever steps are necessary to prevent Iran from crossing the nuclear threshold, even if it means acting alone. Beyond nuclear fears, Israel is deeply alarmed by Iran's ongoing support for militant groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These groups, armed and funded by Tehran, are seen as direct threats on Israel's borders, capable of launching attacks and destabilizing the region at Iran's behest. This hardline position has not only shaped Israel's own policies, but has also influenced international responses, especially with strong and consistent backing from the United States, Israel's closest ally on the world stage. Intelligence sharing, joint military exercises, and close coordination between American and Israeli defense officials have deepened the U.S.-Israel partnership, making it a cornerstone of regional security efforts. However, Israel's uncompromising approach has sometimes clashed with European calls for renewed diplomacy and negotiation, raising concerns among some nations about the risk of a wider conflict erupting in the Middle East. Despite these differing international perspectives, Israel remains steadfast, arguing that only a posture of strength and readiness can guarantee its security and long-term survival in a volatile region. This conviction continues to drive Israel's actions, shaping its military strategies and influencing the broader regional dynamic as tensions with Iran persist. Understanding Israel's strategy is essential to grasping the broader standoff between these two regional powers, and the ripple effects felt across the Middle East. In the next scenes, we'll explore how these deeply held positions and alliances play out on the world stage, shaping the future of the region and the prospects for peace or conflict. The maximum pressure campaign was expected to force Iran into quick concessions. Instead, Iran proved resilient, escalating its nuclear activities and responding with its own pressure tactics. The conflict became a drawn-out standoff, with cycles of tension and brief lulls but no resolution. Early warnings about a long, costly struggle came true. The hope for a rapid victory faded, replaced by the reality of managing a persistent crisis. All sides have had to adapt to a new normal of sustained tension. The expectation of a swift outcome was a costly miscalculation. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway but a global choke point. About 20% of the world's oil passes through this 21-mile-wide strait each day. Major oil producers like Saudi Arabia and Iraq rely on it to reach global markets. Iran's control of the northern shore gives it significant leverage. Any threat to close the strait can send oil prices soaring. Even rumors of conflict here cause economic shockwaves worldwide. The U.S. and other navies patrol the area to keep shipping lanes open, but the risk of confrontation is ever present. The strait's security is directly tied to global economic stability. Any disruption would have immediate, severe consequences for energy supplies. This makes the Strait of Hormuz a constant focus of military and diplomatic attention. Its importance cannot be overstated in the story of Iran and global security. Instability in the Persian Gulf quickly becomes a global crisis. Threats to the Strait of Hormuz drive up energy prices, raising costs for fuel, goods, and transportation worldwide. The region is a hub for global trade. Disruptions force longer shipping routes and higher insurance, inflating prices everywhere. It's also a major source of fertilizers. Conflict could threaten food security by raising costs and lowering crop yields. Critical infrastructure, ports, refineries, desalination plants, are vulnerable targets, and attacks could trigger humanitarian and economic disasters. The interconnectedness of energy, trade, and food supplies means a conflict here would ripple across continents. Financial markets, factories, and farms worldwide would feel the impact. That's why the world watches the Gulf so closely. A regional conflict would quickly escalate into a global emergency. Maintaining peace here is in everyone's interest. The stakes are truly global. Iran's power isn't just military, it's geographic and networked. Its control over the Strait of Hormuz gives it leverage without firing a shot. Iran has also built a web of regional allies, Hezbollah, militias in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. These proxies extend Iran's reach and complicate any response from its rivals. Attacks by these groups create ambiguity, making it hard to assign blame and increasing the risk of escalation. The Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping show how Iran's influence can disrupt global trade far from its borders. This combination of geography and alliances makes isolating Iran difficult. Any solution must address this complex network of influence. The standoff is a regional chess match, not a simple confrontation. Despite ongoing tensions and a history of failed negotiations, there's been a renewed push for diplomacy in recent months. The stakes are higher than ever, and the world is watching closely as leaders attempt to bridge divides that have persisted for decades. Neutral countries, like Oman and Egypt, have stepped in to mediate, leading to small but significant breakthroughs, such as prisoner swaps and the release of frozen funds. These gestures, while limited, have helped to build a fragile trust and keep the door to dialogue open. Talks continue behind closed doors, but deep mistrust and major disagreements remain on both sides. Each round of negotiations is fraught with tension, as diplomats weigh every word and gesture. The US and its allies demand strict limits on Iran's nuclear program and an end to its support for proxies across the region. Security concerns dominate every discussion, with Western officials insisting on robust verification measures. Iran, meanwhile, insists on its right to a peaceful nuclear program and the removal of all sanctions that have crippled its economy. Iranian leaders argue that their sovereignty and dignity must be respected. Both sides want guarantees the other will honor any deal, fearing a repeat of past betrayals. Trust is fragile, and every agreement is scrutinized for loopholes and hidden risks. The diplomatic path is difficult, and progress is slow. But the alternative, continued confrontation, carries enormous risks, including the threat of military escalation and regional instability. The standoff has already shifted global priorities, with countries scrambling to secure energy and protect vital supply chains. The world economy feels the impact as oil prices fluctuate and trade routes are threatened. Alliances are strained, and the region remains volatile. Protests erupt and governments brace for the possibility of further unrest. The world is watching to see if diplomacy can break the cycle of tension, or if history will repeat itself with new rounds of conflict and uncertainty. What happens next will shape global politics and economics for years to come, influencing everything from security alliances to financial markets. The stakes could not be higher, as every decision made now will echo far beyond the negotiating table. The story of Iran is far from over, and the outcome of these talks will help determine the future of the region and the world.